Hey guys, so I watched this movie over the weekend called Trance, and it's been recommended to me a few times. I've heard of the name quite a bit. It's on Amazon Prime, so that's great. Movies on Amazon Prime seem to have a great, good budget behind them. They're well promoted, and best of all, they're easily accessible to me. So I was pretty excited to watch this. I heard that it was pretty crazy. The reviews were pretty mixed on it, but all I knew was that the performance from Fahadh Faasil in this movie was meant to be out of this world. And you know what? It was. His performance in this movie was maybe the highlight of this movie. But I'm going to do what I do as I've been doing recently. I'm going to do about a 10-minute maybe review talking about it. Then I'm going to move on to do a bit of a scene reaction towards the second half of this video. We'll see how we go. Because there's a few really, I would call borderline iconic scenes, really different to what I've really seen before. So yeah, pretty interesting movie, man. Reading the premise of this movie and sort of how it all starts to sort of see where we end up. It's a ride. It's definitely a ride. I'll start with what I liked about this movie. And that's quite a bit. Obviously, I mentioned Fahadh Faasil, and his performance in this is really good. I mean, it is maybe the most intense I've seen Fahad. Like he's always, he's always playing intense characters. He's playing them a lot of the time, in some way or the other. And this was no exception. In fact, this might have been the highest of his insanity that I've seen. The unhinged nature that he gets to is on another level. It's really crazy, honestly. It reminds me a little bit of, honestly, like one of my favorite actors in Nicolas Cage and how he can just go unhinged. There's elements of that in this, to be honest. And I was just there for it. Like his journey in this movie was just something else. And yeah, the way he's able to sort of use his body to emote so much, the energy is contagious. Like he definitely plays off that sort of character that he's in this time really well. So I was really impressed by Fahad in this movie. And obviously alongside him, what a stacked cast. Like, wow. There were a lot of faces in this movie. From, Sreenath, Bhasi at the start, who has I'd say cameo role even, but such an important role. Obviously, Soubin Shahir is there for a bit more of a cameo. Than that, he has a sort of role as kind of the antagonist to Fahad's character. Viju, I guess we can call him. We got Chemban in the mix here as well. He was great like always. He's such a great actor. I really enjoy watching him on the screen. And then we even had literal cameo appearances. Like I did not expect to see Joju George as a newsreader. I was shocked to see him just there. There was an auto rickshaw guy from Nantan Keskoru, Rajesh Madhavan. There's Unmaya Prasad, who I've seen in movies like Joji and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like it was just I didn't expect this to be an ensemble cast, but to see people just like that appear really sort of shocked me. To talk about what I liked about this movie a little bit more, like I think, this movie is definitely one that can be seen as controversial. It does sort of play into sort of that, I guess, monetization of, I guess, religion or exploitation even of religion. It's kind of dark in that way, to be honest. It plays on some pretty dark moral themes. And it does that okay, I think. I think it does that pretty okay. I mean, just the whole world that they create, like how it's so corporatization of religion, and then to use that against people. We really see the dark side of that in this movie, especially through the character of the one whose baby gets murdered due to faith, Thomas, essentially. Like we really see that exploitation of sort of faith and how bad it can be. So there's a certain darkness to this movie, and that's right from the start, from the history of what Viju Prasad has gone through. Like he's gone through a rough time here. It's pretty bad. So, and I wish I'll touch on maybe the criticism a little bit more in a bit after I talk about some of the positives. But the foundation of this movie is also fantastic in what they set out, the backstory for Viju Prasad. You're instantly hooked onto this movie. The first 20 or so minutes, or however long that sort of opening sequence is, where we find out about Viju Prasad's struggles, how he's sort of struggling in life with suicide all around him, how he's even getting through life. And again, it's kind of dark how they sort of, poach him, this person that really has had the worst of the worst in life happen to him. He's had unthinkable events in his life, in his short life. It's not like he's an old man by the time we see him. But he's had a tragic life so far. So it's just, honestly, just adds on to sort of the sadness of this movie a little bit like that. But yeah, as I was saying, the start of this movie is really good. And yeah, I think they do that exploitation thing pretty well. I think it's done pretty well. I think connecting the two things I just mentioned then, I think it might have been better if they had sort of stuck onto the emotional side and given us more story or more of a character journey for Viju Prasad, to see him either have redemption to get over his grief with what's happened to him or just tragically succumb to it. I feel like there's kind of a disconnect between what they were trying to do between those two sides of things. And yeah, I think they sort of lent more to the, religious exploitation and the corporatization side of things with religion and that dark side. So a bit of a disconnect there, which left to a bit of an emotional gap, I think. That's probably my biggest criticism if I'm just sort of jumping around a bit here. You don't really feel that invested with the character because you don't really see their journey, even the redemption at the end or the happiness that comes at the end, which I also enjoyed, to be honest. Also I enjoyed, Nazriya and Fahadh getting back together, husband-wife cameo in this movie. And she was also great along with Dileesh Pothan as well. Sounds like a lot of familiar faces with Fahadh Faasil in this one. But yeah, look, even like at the end, the redemption, while I was happy that there was, a positive came out of all of this, it was kind of like, I just wish that, that he had sort of made peace with what had happened to him a bit more, or I wish that side of the story had been explored more because it was so good. The foundation of the movie was so good. Again, with some of the more positives, which I've sort of jumped around a little bit. But yeah, man, this movie visually is actually something else. I think they did a really good job with the whole production is amazing in this movie. And, so Anwar Rasheed, I realized afterwards, the director of photography in this movie. So I think Anwar Rasheed is a director. And I think there was somebody else, Amal Nirad, was a cinematographer. Amal Nirad was a director of Bisham Parvam. So, this movie looked amazing and it sounded amazing as well with the score, the music. It's different. It's very visually different, some of the effects that they use. And obviously I'll touch on that more pretty soon when I do the scene reaction because there are a couple scenes that, oh my God, are shot really well. So if you're just looking at it from production value, it's really good and it's really different. Like, the way they sort of shot at the, I'm not sure where they shot that palace or the castle, wherever they were. Looked like the Sistine Chapel or something like that with paintings all around. Just a whole different look. So yeah, a lot to sort of like about this movie, despite the fact it's not really the perfect movie. I will say I did thoroughly enjoy this movie. From just a thriller aspect, it was great. Like I was basically hooked. It does sort of get a little bit slow in the sort of after the first act. The second act, it struggles a little bit, I think. And it gets a bit confusing because there's a time when he becomes like completely unhinged. And I thought that that's how the movie was going to go. Like he was going to actually become more and more unhinged due to the injury that he got. And that would somehow lead him to, directly take revenge on the people and, show, this whole underworld, I guess. But it doesn't really do that. It kind of comes back around to doing it at the end. But we get a whole middle period where he's sort of, going back into what he was doing before. That left me a bit confused with the whole medicines. Like he started taking medicines. Then he stopped. Then he started again due to the influence of Esther, Nazriya's character. That part left a bit of a disconnect in the second half. So far, the pacing was a little bit slower there. And look, it's a 2.5 hour movie. So, they could have easily just basically cut out a big portion of the second half actually in that state when they're trying to figure out what they're doing with him. Some of the critiques, I think, that are there. But as a thriller piece, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing sort of the journey of this character and how it's all going to end. And I think that's mostly because of, the performance from Fahadh, which I think is the perfect time for me to now transition into a little bit of the scene-by-scene reactions because there are some good ones in this one. There are some pretty cool scenes in this one, man. I'm really looking forward to reacting to some of these scenes. All right, let me get into it. Oh, man. Man, that scene. Oof. I kind of just want to include that scene. It's a very short one. Like, I've just clipped in a minute basically. But yeah, just, the start of this movie, as I mentioned, the first 20 minutes, the first 30 minutes, however long it is, to sort of establish the scene. It all happens before the title cards even come up. Really well done. And that's just, an indication as to how good the cinematography and the camera work is. Listening to it on the earphones as well, you can hear the music swell up. Really creates the atmosphere in that scene altogether. It's really fantastic, to be honest. And yeah, just seeing Fahadh there, just sort of in shock. It's such a big contrast to sort of what we see later on, where his performance is very unhinged, such as the scene that's coming up right now. Probably one of the most iconic scenes. But yeah, man, I think just, as I mentioned, like you really get into this movie. You are brought into this movie so well because the start is so good. And they really, put some dramatic events in. Some really terrifying events, which wouldn't wish on anybody to go through what Fahadh's character has gone through in this one. So yeah, man, it's a pretty fantastic scene, and you can tell already the cinematography and the camera work, the production value, it's all there right in that scene right there. But now we're going to get onto something even crazier, probably the most iconic scene in this movie. I don't know if it's the most gifed or the most memed. It definitely has that kind of feel to it. So let's get into it.
I'm always one step ahead, solo.
That's right, put you all on the guest list. Let's rock the party.
പക്ഷെ അവിടെ 3 നിയമങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ഒന്ന്, ഇനി വരാൻ പോകുന്ന നമ്മുടെ മെഗാ ഷോസിന്റെ ചാർട്ട് ഒന്ന് പറ.
ആദ്യത്തേത് ഡിസംബർ 25 മെഗാ മിറാക്കിൾ ഫെസ്റ്റ്.
അന്തരാതിൽ കമനജാല പ്രൗഢി വീരി കടക 5 ലക്ഷം വിശ്വാസികൾക്ക് രോഗശാന്തിയും.
I mean, it's not like a comedic scene. I don't think it's meant to be funny like that, but just the way it's shot, the way it's done, it's to see Fahadh basically be this unhinged, it's remarkable. I think this might be my favorite performance of his. Probably not my favorite movie of his that I've seen so far. So everyone that's new here, I'm still pretty new to sort of Fahadh movies and things like that. I've seen quite a few of them, but this was definitely might be my favorite performance of his. That scene was just crazy. I'm not sure if how much he improvised there. Like there was a lot of sort of dance moves and things like that. Again, the cinematography is really well done. This looks like it's out of like a music video or something like that. It feels so different, and the way the camera works, it's pretty remarkable. But yeah, again, I think the highlight in that scene is definitely Fahadh's performance and how unhinged he is. Yeah, man, it's just crazy to see. And you just see the other actors just sort of look in amazement as to what's going on here. It's weird because like that scene is so good that's how we sort of start the second half. It's such a good start to the second half. It feels a bit of it feels like there's a letdown after that a little bit because we don't get that same level of craziness till really the end. We sort of go on a whole different tangent. We do a few different storylines and things like that. But then eventually we return to the craziness, which is what I think this last scene is going to show us. So let's finish it off with this one. Looking forward to reacting to this one as well. I'm going to start with the facial expressions from everyone. Just cracked me up, including Fahad's. But man, he's a great physical actor. You see that at the start, right? With the shaking and the moving and everything like that. I've always noticed that about him. From the start, his facial expressions, in addition to his physical acting, just make him so complete with how much he can sort of convey in one scene. It's really remarkable. But this scene itself, man, like it's so much fun. It's like again, like, you know, these two scenes I've shown back to back are probably the craziest to me. Don't know if I missed any in between. I think some of the scenes with Soubin are also pretty good. But yeah, like this scene itself, man, it's just the slow motion, the music. It's a great start to the climax of this movie, basically. Because the ending of the movie, you know, I do think it does a good job in sort of ending this movie off. Of how crazy he is and just, you know, how psychotic he's returned to, I guess. So, yeah, man. This was a lot of fun. I love watching the scenes again. And I'm enjoying doing it like this. Please let me know in the feedback what you guys are thinking about this review plus reaction side of things. I hope it offers something a little bit different. In case you've not seen the movie in a while, then I hope this refreshes your memory a little bit. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate all the support. Please leave any more Fahadh movies to watch. I know there's a lot of them out there. He's probably, you know, in the top 3 of my actors in the Malayalam film industry so far. Probably at least top 5, I would say. Because yeah, he's just it's just so much fun to watch him perform. But yeah, guys, that'll do it for me. Until next time, I'll catch you in the next one.